Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsinger-shop.com. Bringing another video today. This one is old school. I'm tying a nymph without a bead. I know that's not what you're used to seeing from me. I'm going to probably try to do a few more of these, just to give me some variety on my channel. I don't do many of them because I don't really fish them. I'm a Euro nympher, and beads, or we don't put weight on our line, we put it in our fly, so there's lots of beads and stuff like that. Of course, now I am going to weight this because it is a nymph. I want it to get down, so I am going to put a few wraps of lead on it, but no bead. So you're going to have an old school style sulfur nymph. This is how I tie my sulfur for around my area here. Use whatever dubbing works for you. This is just a nice combination of the way I like to tie it for fish in my area. If you look up a sulfur nymph online, you're going to see they're pretty mottled, a little lighter on the back, a little darker on the front, and that's kind of why I tie this one the way I do. So here you're going to see the picture of it, and then the material list to tie it. Alright, here you see the sulfur pattern in the vise. Let's get into tying it. For a hook, I am using a Firehole 609. This one I'm tying in a size 14. And for lead to weight this, I'm using 0.015 and just giving it about 10 wraps or so of lead. I want to make sure, I want it in the middle, kind of in the middle. I don't know how to say it, about 2/3 of it, a little less than 2/3 maybe. I'm going to start my thread in front, wrap it up there towards the eye, and then I'm going to drop it back behind the lead and push it up tight. So I keep it in the middle, and it'll keep this body level. Okay, for thread, I'm actually using Nano Silk 12-aught brown, and had a little piece of lead go a little astray there, so I just slid that off with my finger. Okay, the next thing I'm going to use is this partridge skin, and I'm going to use the back feathers up here on it, these darker brown feathers. So I'm going to pluck one of them out. Actually, I'm going to pluck two out. And what I'm going to do is strip the fluff off of it, and I'm going to make the tail on this. And for the tail, I'm going to use the feathers here. They got that nice mottled look, and I'm just going to strip them off of one side and try to keep them all lined up the same length when you strip them off, and that's going to make your tail. And just get them in a nice clump there. Now we're going to hold that on. I want it to be not the length of the hook shank, but close. I don't want a big huge tail on there, and I'm just going to wrap that on right to the bend of the hook. I don't want to wrap it down over the bend. I don't want it to roll over the side there. So we're just going to wrap that on the back. Then I'm going to come in with some Brassie gold wire. And I'm going to wrap this on the bottom of the hook here. Oops. And again, wrap right back to that bend. And wrap it in place. Next thing, I'm going to come in with some golden stone. This is SLF Whitlock's dubbing blend. And I like the golden stone here for this sulfur. I'm going to go real thin because I use that wire. So that wire is actually going to be what I use to build up the body here. So I want a real thin layer of this golden stone dubbing. We're just going to start back at that tail and wrap it forward about 2/3 of the way up there. Then we're going to come in. I'm going to counter rib the wire. If you counter rib it, it'll show up a little bit better. If you don't counter rib it, it tends to sink into that dubbing. So we're just going to wrap that off and helicopter it off. Now, next thing I'm going to do is come in with a piece of pheasant tail, and I'm going to use about 6 or 7 fibers there, maybe a couple more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to cut the tips off of it, And I'm going to put it so the bottom side of the feather is facing down. And the bottom side on the pheasant tail is usually darker. So I want that darker side to come up through on my wing case. So I'm going to put it with the bottom side down, wrap it to the bend of the eye there. Or sorry, to the eye of the hook. Then we're going to come in with some red fox squirrel thorax, which is a little bit darker. It's going to give this a two-tone look, which is what we want in that sulphur pattern. It's lighter in the abdomen, darker in the thorax. So we're just going to dub this on. And I usually start at the eye, keep it real thin. Work my way back here, making sure I get it where I want it, and then come back up. Come back up to my eye, and we're going to put our legs in. Now, if you remember, I tore two of those feathers off the back of that partridge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the tips out of one of them, separate the tips like that, and then I'm going to cut that tip off. Okay, so that's what I'm left with here. Now I'm going to take however many fibers I want for my leg, which is about 6 or so, on each side, and I'm going to pull them forward. So you see there I have a nice little V sticking out. These are going to be my legs. I'm going to lay one down each side of the hook. So I'm going to lay them down where I want them, putting them right over that eye, and then I'm going to pinch them with my fingers, and I'm going to hold them real tight with my fingers. I'm going to make a loose wrap, 1 or 2 loose wraps, and then tie it tight. Right there behind that eye. And then we're going to cut our tag off. Now I've been doing this a while, so I made that look kind of easy. But there you can see the legs on the side of the fly. It's not real hard with a little bit of practice. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to pull our wing case up over the top. Keeping it centered. And then tie it off. Just going to hit a nice little whip finish, and we're done with this fly. Now, that pheasant tail isn't as dark as I might like. It's nice and dark. It's a nice offset color, which is perfect, which is what I want. But one thing I can do, I can hit it with a little bit of bone dry. Let that bone dry sink in for a second. That'll darken it up, harden it, and also secure my knot up here at the head. So I usually give it a little bit of bone dry. And that is all that's to this fly. There you have a nice, natural looking, old school style Sulphur Nymph. Okay guys, I hope you liked that tie. It was a pretty easy one. Not too hard, a lot of basic steps, things you can master pretty quickly. That's what I like to tie. That's what I like to give you guys. Things that anybody can tie with a little bit of practice. You might need a little practice on them wings, getting them to stay where you want them, but it's not really that hard. Just, split them, pinch them down tight, couple loose wraps before you pull it real tight. Those loose wraps will hold it in place and keep them from popping straight out. So have fun tying, guys. That's what this is all about. And one of the reasons I tied this was I actually tied it for an order for a guy, but also I'm ready for spring. I'm ready to get the ice out of here and get back on the water. So tying a few sulfurs was just a way for me to break the cabin fever of being stuck inside here. So hope you guys have fun. Like always, any of the materials you need to tie this fly or any other one, you can find at our shop at holsingersflyshop.com. Thanks for watching, and please give us the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next week when I bring you another video, I'm Sean Holsinger.